maybe, because the alternative is my guy Danny gets to come back. Time now for Drawing a Blank, a real segment that is in place and does work. With the Saints losing starter Jameis Winston for the season to an ACL injury, guess whose name is back in the news? This guy, Philip Rivers. Could he possibly be the answer in New Orleans this season? According to a new report, the St. Michael Catholic High School head coach said he'd listen if the Saints did come calling. So, Broussard, the Saints calling Philip Rivers would be blank.
Jenna, it would be potentially storybook. All right, and I'll admit it. The Braves have me in a dreamy mood. All right, so humor me. All right, go with me. What better, with the Braves were storybook, let's do it in football. What better script than a soon-to-be 40-year-old quarterback with a dad bod, no less, as you saw in those videos, coming back out of retirement after coaching, couldn't get it done when he was in his prime as far as winning a Super Bowl, leading a team to a long playoff run and maybe win it all. It would be storybook, Jenna. Now, let me add this. I don't think either happens. I don't think that the Saints sign Philip Rivers, and I certainly don't think if they do, he leads them to a Super Bowl. But I don't think it's a bad idea to give him a call and say, hey, what kind of shape you in? You been throwing the football? Why don't you get in shape if you haven't been? You could bring him in the quarterback room. Right, bring him in. Taysom Hill, assuming he's back from the concussion, can be your starter. I know Nick's down on him. I'm not down on him. They went 3-1 with him completing 70% of his passes last year as a starter. But the way he plays, he's likely to get hurt in a few weeks. So you go with Taysom until he gets injured. By that time, Philip Rivers makes his back in shape, and then you put him in as the quarterback, because I'd rather have Philip Rivers behind center than Trevor Siemian, Nick.
So I'm really conflicted here, because I did a ton of research on this, because my answer was obvious and imperative, and the Taysom Hill 3-1 stuff is nonsense. The defense allowed 28 points total in those 3 wins. Those 3 wins came against the Falcons, who were terrible last year, and the Broncos, who were terrible last year. And you saw Philip Rivers still has something, 11-5 with the Colts. And then last season, that same Colts team's now 3-5 with Carson Wentz. So my answer was obvious and imperative that they have to do this. But Wilds, and I understand it's 2021 and I got to tread lightly here, but can we put up that? I hadn't seen this video when I gave my answer. And Broussard called it a dad bod. That ain't a dad bod, buddy. That's a bad bod. Philip Rivers is not, you're like, if he gets in shape. Well, that ain't, that ain't some 28-minute Tybo work. Buddy, that is I understand maybe the dad bod is more extreme when you have 9 children, but I don't.
Yeah.
Ben Roethlisberger looks at him and is like, buddy, you let yourself go. So I don't know if he can go play NFL football anytime soon. That ain't great. So I felt better about this before I actually saw Philip Rivers Wild. No, Wild, please. No,
Wild is like, are you kidding me?
I look
died
like
for that body.
Michelangelo's David.
Is that what you're saying?
I took my microphone off. I'd be amazing looking. Here's the thing about Philip Rivers.
It sounds like you were saying.
It's not like the guy was an Adonis when he played, okay? He was hurt that one game with the Colts, but otherwise, he's the Iron Man. It's like him and Dak. My answer is voicemail is full, because you know that he still got the itch to play. He wasn't necessarily pushed out of Indianapolis, but if the door was open in Indianapolis and they didn't make the bewildering decision to bring in Carson Wentz, I bet he would have played again. Remember, he had that delayed retirement and he gave it to his old reporter friend in San Diego. It's voicemail full, because I don't think the Saints are the only team that should be calling him. If you're the Panthers, why not give Philip Rivers a call? He wants to play, Jenna. So I think that other teams should be willing to call him. I think he looks great.
Can you just compare that dad bod video to the videos that Cam Newton's putting out there right now, where he's Game 6 Braves Astros and Jorge Soler opening the scoring in the third with one of the hardest hit home runs I have ever seen. The ball left the stadium, set the tone for Atlanta. They extended their lead with homers from Dansby Swanson, Freddie Freeman. Let us fast forward. It's the play you want to see. Bottom 9, 2 outs. Yuli Gurriel grounding out to short. And that is it. The Atlanta Braves cap an unbelievable run to the postseason with their first title in 25 years. Here was an emotional Freddie Freeman on the field with our Ken Rosenthal after the win.
Freddie, you've been in this organization since 2007. You went through some lean years, some crazy times this year, and now you are a World Series champion. What does this moment mean to you?
I don't know, Ken. I'm at loss for words. This is it. This is everything you worked for. And I mean, we're in November right now, and we've been doing this since February, and we've had so many ups and downs this year. And for us to be world champions, Ken, that is awesome to hear.
That's awesome. That literally just gave me the chills. That is fantastic. It has been a very up and down year for this Atlanta Braves team. We'll get into all of it. Broussard, how impressive was the Braves' run to their first World Series title since 1995?
Well, first of all, Jenna, yeah, you mentioned 95. When the three of you were just whippersnappers, believe it or not, I covered the Braves' last World Series championship in 1995 for the Akron Beacon-Journal. They edged in 6 games the Cleveland Indians. So I was there for that, and I'm here for this, meaning I love it. This is incredible. If this is so incredible that if it were offered up as a movie script, I think it'd be turned down as something that's just too unrealistic. There's no way that that's happening. I mean, with all due respect, hopefully they don't take this the wrong way, because I mean it as a compliment.
Hello, Major League.
The Braves were darn near the Bad News Bears. I mean, let's look at this situation, really. Midway through the season, they lose one of their top players, Marcell Ozuna, to domestic violence charges. Then they lose their best player, Ronald Acuna Jr., to injury. At the time, they're below 500. They're 5 games out in the worst division in baseball. Instead of giving up and getting ready for the future, they go in and sign 4 fairly nondescript outfielders, none of whom's having a particularly good season. And then one of those, they get into the playoffs with the worst record of the 10 teams that make the postseason. And then one of those outfielders that they traded for at the deadline leads them to the NLCS championship over the defending world champion Dodgers. And then another of those 4 outfielders leads them to the World Series championship over the most hated team in baseball. And for a week, because they were playing the Astros, who everybody hates because of the cheating, they became America's team, because everybody outside of Houston was pulling for the Braves. And then on top of all of that, they become, they won the World Series with the worst regular season record, the fewest wins in a 162-game season outside of the 1987 Minnesota Twins. So this was just fantastical. It was storybook and good for the Braves, Nick. It doesn't get any better than this.
And I want to talk about one of those outfielders, Jorge Soler.